Yeah, I'm not worried about what transpired last year. I feel good about the collection and what they've shown thus far in that area, certainly. I expect us to be dominant.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Training Camp Live. Day 14 coming at you here from Saint Vincent College. Training Camp Live brought to you by FedEx. Mike Prisuta along with Max Starks. You just heard Mike Tomlin say he expects his defensive line to be dominant. Doesn't matter how many yards people rushed for against the Steelers last year. And, Max, this is Mike Tomlin echoing a sentiment he expressed a little more than a week ago. He expects the whole defense to be dominant.
Well, I think when you look at
not improved, not better.
Dominant.
Great. Dominant.
Yeah, just like we do on this broadcast every time we're on together, Mike.
Correct.
We're dominant.
That is a great analogy.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is when you look at last year to this year, the biggest thing is health. Bodies available and some top-tier talent in those spaces. Last year, you lose Tyson Alualu, second game of the year. Stephon Tuitt's out the entire year. You're scrambling. Guys are injured along the way at different points. We lose T.J. Watt early on in the season, and then he comes back and rebounds strong. And so you have Mel Ingram trying to leave and go to Kansas City. A lot of upheaval, a lot of turmoil last year, guys trying to figure out what it was. But this year, you look at the line, there's about 9 names on that defensive line. I think that could be starter capable anywhere in the NFL. And it's going to come down to Carl Dunbar and the coaching staff to figure out what that final rotation looks like. But it starts Saturday. And I think a lot of guys have earned opportunities and snaps to play in this game. And they're going to get an opportunity to really play and show what they can do for this team.
Saturday, of course, the exhibition opener against Seattle at Acrisure Stadium. And, Max, Mike Tomlin spoke to the media around 11:30 or thereabouts here on campus, and he emphasized he's excited about the game. He's always excited about the preseason games because he wants to see these guys play somebody else in the chaos of a game environment as opposed to the structure of a practice against a teammate. But Mike Tomlin said before we get there, today a big day for the Steelers. Another day in pads, and there are still decisions to be made in terms of how they're going to allocate the snaps and who's going to do what. Is the last practice in pads prior to the first exhibition game really that big of a deal?
It is a big deal because this is your last chance to shore up some of the stuff that might have been bugaboos in practice, some of the fits for offensive line, especially on double teams, because the next time you get in those pads, it's going to be live. You're going to be running through the tunnel in Acrisure Stadium, and it's going to be the nameless gray faces, as Mike Tomlin likes to call them. There's an opponent. Seattle Seahawks are going to come in here, and they're looking to put on a performance because they have a lot of doubts and people talking negatively about them in the media. So they want to come into Pittsburgh, and they want to prove, their worth for this season. So it's going to be man-on-man. So the practice reps out here are very important today, especially for the offensive and defensive lines, because you want to make sure you shore up the little nuances of the offense so that you can run on all cylinders come Saturday evening.
I want to go back to what you said a second ago. 9 starter-capable defensive linemen.
Yes.
Across the league.
Yes.
They're not keeping 9, right?
They're not keeping 9. It's going to be probably roughly 6, and a 7th guy as a practice squad guy. Carl Dunbar likes to roll through his lines, so he likes having 2 full lines ready to go on game day. So I think it will probably be 7 of those, and hopefully you can hide some as well.
So you got a couple of early battles or two that are emerging for the last spot, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, I think there's
you got some established guys there that aren't going anywhere.
Well, here's the first thing. Cam Hayward, Tyson Alualu, and Larry Ogunjobi not going anywhere. Yeah. So those 3 spaces are removed. Now you're talking about fighting for 3 more spots plus that P-Squad spot. So from there you have Isaiah Loudermilk, who I think has a good inside track of doing that. Chris Wormley, another one. Montravius Adams. Now, I know he's been injured the last couple of days, but Montravius Adams has been putting some good tape out there today. So Montravius Adams, Doug Costin, the Carlos and Khalil Davis, the Davis twins, and then DeMarvin Leal, a guy they drafted. So you're going to want to –
I don't think he's going anywhere
either. Don't think he's going anywhere either. So it's going to be really tough to find those guys because you can't keep them all. And I know we'll have a cut. We'll drop 5 guys after this game come the 16th on Tuesday. But – this is a hotly contested position. I think it's one of the deepest position groups that we have out here in training camp.
Yeah, remarkable where it was at the end of last year versus where it is now at the outset of this year. A lot of progress made there. Of course, there are some injuries, as you mentioned, and Mike Tomlin talked a little bit about that today in terms of potential availability against Seattle.
Not at this point. I'm always going to have an inclusive mentality. Obviously, if somebody has missed a significant amount of practice time, I probably won't play them because I'm setting them up for failure. But at this point, all of those that are working in some capacity, I'm having an inclusive mentality.
Yeah, so nobody ruled out yet, but the guys who have not been playing are probably not going to play. Mike Tomlin also, of course, he was asked about Mitch Trubisky and the quarterbacks, how they're going to allocate that playing time. And Trubisky is going to start against Seattle the way Tomlin expressed it, and I'm paraphrasing Max. It's going to go how it's gone the majority of the time out here. He is not, as he said, blowing in the wind at the quarterback position. So what I read from that was it's going to be Mitch Trubisky, then it's going to be Mason Rudolph, and then it's going to be Kenny Pickett. Tomlin said the plan, it's written in pencil, the first team units play the first quarter, the second teamers play the second and third quarter, and the third teamers play the fourth quarter. But the asterisk there is guys who are maybe on the rise might bump up, guys who are struggling might bump down. He's leaving himself wiggle room, Mike Tomlin is. But I think we're going to see the quarterbacks at least roll out in that order.
Yeah, I expect that rotation to be the same. Mike Tomlin used the word bleeding. Guys are going to be bleeding and blending in between the positions. So I think that's something that
probably a little both.
Yeah, a little bit of both. But I think when you look at it, Mr. Trubisky's taking the lion's share of the first team reps since we've been out here since day one of training camp. So it was no surprise that he was going to be starting the game.
I mean,
yeah, all but like maybe a handful.
Yeah.
Which Mason got a handful. So I think you're going to see that. I think where it comes down to the bleeding, I think is going to be Mason and Kenny because that's been the only spot that's had movement up and down. You know, there's one day Kenny's with the threes, next day Kenny's with the twos, and vice versa for Mason. So it's something that you look at. It's a moving target because yesterday I thought Kenny Pickett had a great day, and Mitch Trubisky not as great a day. And then Mason Rudolph's just kind of been toeing the line. He's been steady and consistent. I think he probably has the best accuracy and completion percentage of this camp. So there's a lot of intangibles you're still working out to see who is going to be that starter. So I think it truly is still a contest.
Yeah, when you say Mitch Trubisky not great yesterday, I'll give you some numbers to provide a little context. 0 for 4 in 7 shots.
Yeah.
In I think it was pass under pressure. He dropped back and went to crank it up, and there was no ball in the hand.
Yeah, had a little whoop type of deal.
All 3 of them combined to go 3 for 12 in third down.
Yeah.
But the practice ended with a couple of 2-minute drills, 60 yards in a minute 38 for a touchdown, 1 timeout. And Mason Rudolph, 4 for 4, including a touchdown pass to George Pickens, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around Pickens tipping the ball with his left hand and catching it with his right over Levi Wallace. And then Kenny Pickett said, you needed 4 plays? I only need 2. Dumped down to Jaylen Warren, 40 yards. Defense. Jaylen Warren must have been wearing some of this nice camouflage. We'll get to this in a minute. But defense clearly not aware that he was out there. And then a beautiful post to the back of the end zone to Steven Sims. Pickett looked like a guy who has done this before. Dropped back, threw it out of his planted, fired, laser right on target.
Yeah, it was a great day. Like you said, they struggled early on, and it was rough sledding. I mean, it was one of those where you kind of put your hand over your eye and you kind of cringe a little bit. But like you said, when it came down to the actual things that you're grading, the situational football moments, the 2-minute drill, which both of these guys will more than likely run, each of them, right? Because you'll have the end of the half, that's supposedly when Mason's going to be in the fourth quarter, Kenny Pickett. So both of them running live action 2-minute drills and both of them converting on those and just making some great football plays as football players. And as we see Mason Rudolph kind of zinging it out there, it was truly nice to see them work and operate and take advantage of a defense and make quick decisions. I thought that was the biggest thing, was the decision-making of all these quarterbacks from day one of training camp to where we're at today has gotten so much more efficient, so much quicker, and they're getting a better relationship with those wide receivers.
We talked about this in terms of our perceived pecking order a couple of days ago. I'm still going to rate them as Trubisky has had the most splash.
Yeah.
Rudolph has been the steadiest. And Pickett has come the furthest. But they didn't all start at the same place. It's like one of those track meets where everybody's staggered.
Yeah,
Except
they're around the bend.
Except they're not running around the bend.
No.
Trubisky is the most proven commodity in terms of NFL starting experience, and he's got a winning record, and he's taken a team to the playoffs. Rudolph has been here the longest, and this is all new to Kenny Pickett. So what, if anything, does that mean to you if I tell you that they line up that way? What does that mean in terms of where they might end up?
Well, I think there's still room for where they might end up. I think these games will be the first tangible results that we can look at against common opponents that will have similar caliber of players you're playing out there. And how do you respond? How does the team tempo go with you? Do you raise guys' play? Do you raise them up to your expectations, or do you break them down? That's going to be the first thing, because for this team, you think about the quarterback position for the last 18 years, it was 7. And when 7 got into the huddle, when he lined up under center, you knew what to expect. This year we don't. So who commands the most respect among the team? Not just the offense, but the team, and the trust that they're ensuring in him that he can deliver. That's going to be the biggest thing, and we're going to see that test at those key moments throughout the game on Saturday to see who's the one rallying the troops, who are the guys huddling around and going out and giving it their all, and that's going to be the first test, because I think this will go until week 3. We'll try and figure out finally who that guy is in preseason, but this is a big test for all of them because all of them have question marks next to them.
Mike Tomlin referenced some of the stuff you were talking about a minute ago as the intangible associated with the position. There's ball security.
Yes.
There is moving the offense, and then there's the leading and the being the guy. Now, he was asked specifically, Mike Tomlin was, about how Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett are doing. Rudolph was left out of this question for whatever reason, and Tomlin gave passing grades to both Rudolph and Pickett in terms of how they're handling themselves, how they're handling the team, doing what's expected, that kind of stuff. Seems like the progress is being made, and Trubisky has done this before, so he's got that in him. The ball security thing is going to be big before this is all said and done, is it not?
And absolutely, and this would not have been a question had Mr. Trubisky not had the old banana in the tailpipe, right, on a snap. I mean, he has the ball. You see him setting up, and as the ball's coming up over his shoulder, it just flies straight out the back of his hands. Now, if this was Kenny Pickett and that happened to it, do you know the downpour of just negativity, the whole small hands debate would come to life? But because it was Mitch Trubisky, it's like, whoa, wait a second. Okay, ball security is key. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest things. Who is going to be the most judicious with the football? Who's not going to pass the ball away, fumble the ball away? And also, one of the things that's been in camp, there's been some fumble snaps from the center and quarterback exchange. That has to clean up as well.
Mostly down the depth chart, though, right?
No. We had second-teamers who started and had starting experience that had some of those snafus at the quarterback and center exchange. So you never know what it's going to be. Mason Cole's been steady with it, but you don't know. I think J.C. Hassenauer's had a couple. John LeGlue had one as well. So that's been an issue, and we all know as an offense.
If he does another, you know what they're going to say.
What's that?
Oh, LeGlue, you've done it again.
Well,
for all you Mr. Magoo fans out there, I don't know if people are aware. It's been a while, but it used to be this cartoon, this old guy with glasses he couldn't see, and he would drive.
Yeah. No, I knew what it was. Okay. I knew what it was, and I appreciate that. But I think the other thing is they're going to be like, you're not as sticky as you say, LeGlue.
Mason Rudolph yesterday had some near picks. That pass under pressure drill, he tried a sideways pass, and number 50, Delonte Scott, deflected it up and almost came down with it in the end zone for a pick 6. Then there was another diving near miss. I don't think any of these 3 quarterbacks has thrown a ton of interceptions, but they've also all had a few dropped on them.
Yes, they have.
Could be worse.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing is the window. So that comes to the leadership, right, decision-making. Where are we going to go with the football in any given play? And are you putting us in the best position to be successful, or are you flirting with danger? And we all know, hey, listen, the gunslinger mentality, Ben had it for years where, hey, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to gamble because if this gamble pays off, it's going to pay big dividends. But for these 3 younger quarterbacks, they don't have that cachet and they don't have the resume of having fourth-quarter comeback drives on their list, only second to who Peyton Manning which was Ben Roethlisberger. So you've got to be a little bit more careful, a little more responsible before you can go out there and kind of freestyle it.
Mike Tomlin also asked today what he thought he might learn about Kenny Pickett in the first game on Saturday night, and Tomlin started laughing out loud, and then he finally said, a lot. He has not done this before, and yeah, it's just an exhibition, but it's in a stadium with the lights on. I don't care if he's familiar with playing in that stadium at night, not in these type of circumstances.
It's different. It's different. The jump from high school to college is one level. The jump from college to pro is, up 1,000. Like, big guys that you thought you could outrun back in the day, you can't outrun. Little guys that you think you can throw over jump a lot higher. So you have to be mindful of that. You can't take those risks. You were a fifth-year quarterback that knew everything in the college level, knew the ACC competition. This is AFC North competition. This is the NFL as a whole, and this is the top 0.5%. So every guy on the field is an athlete. Every guy in the field was the man at some point in his career before he got to the NFL. And now what's going to make you stand out as a man amongst men? That's the next question. So give them the respect and make sure that you're pretending that you are on the same level, even though you might be better. But I think the biggest thing is it's going to be the accuracy. It's going to be decision-making. Kenny Pickett, 2 days ago in practice, coach was like, get rid of the ball, because he was holding on to the ball, right?
Yep.
You watch for the hugger. The hugger, which is a linebacker kind of scraping off of a double team or a twist game by the defensive line. You have to be mindful of those things. You can't take it for granted that your offensive line is going to block those guys because there are free runners and they can cover up ground really fast.
Yeah, Mason Rudolph also, it was suggested by Mike Tomlin to Mason Rudolph that maybe things should happen a little quicker. Tomlin yelled, "Get the ball out, Rudolph." You can hear it all the way up here at the top of the hill. Mason Rudolph talked the other day about wanting to get the ball down the field a little more often. Before that, George Pickens, that ridiculous catch, the tip to himself yesterday, he caught a 37-yarder from Rudolph down the sideline. And Mason Rudolph also talked about, in his mind, he still thinks he has a lot to prove, even though he is the known commodity with this coaching staff. If you're him, do you think he is just playing his game, or do you think he's thinking, I got to expand my game to win this job and show these guys more than I've shown them previously?
Well, I think he has to. He has to show them because Ben retires, you're still on the roster, you get an extension, and they still go out and sign a quarterback very early in the process, and then you draft one in the first round. So, yeah, you have a lot to prove still, and nothing is given to you. If they felt that comfortable, they would have had that kind of Chris Oladikin type of draft pick later in the round to be your backup. But no, you drafted to replace and compete, so you must show more than what you've shown because apparently it wasn't good enough.
We're getting a look at Kevin Dotson right now, number 69, or we were a second ago. He is out again today. If you recall Mike Tomlin's soundbite from a few minutes ago, he said the guys who aren't practicing aren't going to be in a position to play well, so they're probably not going to play. I just tried to do a quick head count as the players were staggering their way onto the field to warm up in tiny groups before we started our show here. I got no Chase Claypool down there today.
Yeah.
No Derek Watt. No Jannard Avery, no Alex Highsmith, no Dotson, and Zach Gentry did not appear to be in shoulder pads as well. There's probably a couple of others.
Najee Harris. Forgot about Najee.
I didn't see Najee.
Which means he's not in shoulder pads if you didn't see him.
I might have missed him. There's a lot of guys.
Well, and he was doing work today after the walkthrough.
Did some yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
Did the individual / position stuff. Yeah. But Dotson, is this impacting left guard? This has been multiple days now, and if he misses the game, which we would anticipate if he's not practicing to play, you got to think advantage number 53, Kendrick Green, right?
Yeah, I think Kendrick Green's the inside track right now as a starter because this is something for Kevin Dotson. Obviously, you cannot control injuries. We know that injuries happen all the time at different points, and they always happen at the worst time. But for Kevin Dotson, who's coming in to camp, this was an open competition battle for the left guard position. The biggest thing you got to be outside of being good is you got to be available. and he has not been available the last number of days. And Kendrick Green has gotten so much work at that position that he's creating that chemistry with the offensive line. I think it's going to be hard for Kevin Dotson, unless something crazy happens in the game, for Kevin Dotson to really regain that kind of lost ground that he's missed with the injury to the ankle. I know, hey, listen, as a guy who's had a lot of injuries to the ankle over my career, the question is, are you hurt or are you injured? Because if you're hurt, you go back out there. But if you're injured, I get the difference. And right now, you're fighting for that opportunity. I would expect to see a little bit more from him. And, right now I think it's Kendrick Green's battle won so far outside of unknown circumstances.
Is Green winning it as well as Dotson losing it due in part to the unavailability? In other words, are you seeing more from Green at guard than you saw at center last season?
I think I'm seeing a lot of growth from Kendrick. He's so explosive and such a tenacious player, and that's something you can't teach. You can go through all the drills in the world, but you can't teach the explosiveness that he naturally has. I think the biggest thing for Kendrick that he has to work on is going to be technical. A lot of technical things that he's going to have to clean up by making that switch from center back to the guard position, a stagger versus working parallel in your stance. I think he still gets a little bit of a crutch where he tries to get himself to equal balance with his feet, and that puts him in trouble on edges and pass protection. But when it comes to run blocking, he's a guy that fires off, and he brings the fight to the defensive line. So, he presents his positive, but all those things can be cleaned up. They're little small things, and I think that's one thing that's really helping him. And as we see, there is Najee. Najee has shoulder pads on.
Are those pads or shells?
Nope, back plaster. You see that little X pad back there? So it means he's got shoulder pads on.
There you go, but no helmet.
No helmet. Well, no helmet. I think he's probably just going to do individual.
He's probably just deciding whether he wants to practice today or not.
Yeah, he might come in, hey, I'll take one play in.
Maybe somebody hit his helmet. That's happened before.
That has happened. Actually, that happened to me in Super Bowl 40. Last play of the game,
What?
we're going in for six tight diamond. I did the Gatorade.
Okay, first
bath.
Explain six tight diamond. Is that victory formation?
Yeah, so that's a victory formation. We call it, the play call for us is six tight diamond. But
why don't you just call it victory formation? It's so much simpler.
It's an actual play called in. So, ask Ken Wisenhunt. I don't know. I did what he told me to do. Six tight diamond, that's the victory formation. Go ahead. But we dumped the Gatorade on Coach Cower when we knew we won the game after the pick by Ike at the end of the game. But I hand my helmet to Barrett Brooks, my teammate, my brother, my mentor. And we dump the Gatorade, me and Marvell Smith. We dump it on him. I go back to look for my helmet. Barrett's like, I don't know where it's at. He's running on the field, putting his helmet on.
Oh, so he was going to get to be
sneaking
a part
a play.
He was going to be a part of six tight diamond.
Yeah, he literally looked like he was a 300 bowler in the PBA. He launched my helmet underneath the bleachers behind us, and so I was like, "Where's my helmet?" And he found it at the end. But that was his way of getting in. So helmets.
I always
can't
heard
disappear.
nobody could run six tight diamond like Barrett Brooks.
Absolutely
it's
not.
kind of his
apparently.
calling card.
Well, it's now in Super Bowl history. He ran a really good six tight diamond in Super Bowl 40.
So you missed being out there for the last play.
Yeah, but you know what? He had a performance-based pay, so I don't mind him getting a little extra sugar on that check.
As I recall, you were out there for the Willie Parker run.
That might have been out there, maybe.
I think you and a guy named Faneca had something to do with that
Yeah,
one.
some guy opened it and the other guy sealed it. I might have been on the seal side, the last guy available to actually tackle Willie.
By the way, let's go way down that road for a minute.
Okay.
Because it's a fun road. The destination's pretty good.
Yeah.
I can remember talking to Faneca about that play, and if I'm remembering this correctly, he said that you guys were trying to set something up all game relative to where Antoine Randall L. would be lined up, and the defense was supposed to react a certain way. And they weren't biting, and then finally on that play, Seattle bit, and Faneca said he remembers getting down in his stance thinking, we're popping this.
Yeah, so it was Hines Ward in that moment.
Hines Ward.
Yeah, so Hines, they weren't biting with Hines' motion all game, and we kept running it to where we were running it to the strength whenever Hines would go in motion. So Hines was a front side blocker in a lot of our run plays. But on this particular play, Hines is lined up to the strength, which is to the right of the formation. So Heath Miller's next to me, and then Hines is out wide, and so we're in a 2-by-2 set. Hines goes in motion, and you literally saw the DB chase. The safeties over-rotated to the backside. They were like, oh, we're going to stop whatever comes to the left.
So you're seeing this as well.
I'm seeing this as well from the tackle position. I saw what he saw, and I knew. I was like, uh-oh. I was like, the safety, which was Michael Boulware, The safety has over-rotated. He's now on the second hash on the left. I was like, oh, this is going to be huge. I was like, oh, this is going to be huge. If I can just get Lofa Tutupu after we get this double team on the D tackle, it is lights out. And the second ball snaps, Heath has his block. Allen comes in and actually flattens the guy coming through the one-through. And Kendall Simmons and I drive our guy into the ground. I work up to the second level, and I wall Lofa, and I just felt this breeze come past me.
That was Willie Parker.
And that was the birthplace of FWP, Fast Willie Parker.
Fast Willie Parker. You hear a cliche. You hear a lot of cliches when people talk football in the NFL, but it worked just like they drew it up.
Yes.
When I watched that play, that is an actual play that worked. The way you planned it, the way you drew it up.
Yeah, to execution and to an NFL record that still stands today, 76 yards on a touchdown run, still the longest in Super Bowl history. It was awesome to be a part of that, and my teammates who were all involved. I mean, that was a moment for us. When you just see Willie, undrafted free agent out of North Carolina, it was on the end of the bench at North Carolina, year 2. Deuce Staley has some injuries. Jerome Bettis steps into the starting role, and then Willie bumps up to second string with Veron Haynes in the backfield. And to get that Super Bowl moment was just truly special. And we ran down, celebrated with him. We still had a whole game to go, but that was a special moment.
We got to look at the running backs a minute ago. You saw Najee Harris doing a few things, and there they are again. I haven't caught a look at Benny Snell, who tweaked a knee the other day. Now, I think Benny has done pretty well. Some of the short yardage stuff, he's batting at least 500 in either 7 shots or goal line in terms of getting in. But that guy, number 30, Max, Jaylen Warren, we first started talking about him on the first day in pads when he showed up to compete in backs on backers, and we're still talking about him. Mike Tomlin said when he saw that, his experience has taught him, okay, when a guy doesn't shrink from shoulder pads, in fact, when he embraces shoulder pads, keep an eye on that. So Tomlin has said he is, in fact, keeping an eye on Jaylen Warren. And, boy, another play yesterday. I know nobody covered him, but he still got 40 yards out of it. Guy won't go away, man.
Listen, preparation meets opportunity in that moment. And that's what Jaylen Warren gave them, running just a little flare route out of the backfield. The defense and the secondary bailed out. They kind of forgot about it. I think the linebackers were running some type of blitz or twist on the inside.
Bullware over pursuit, I think.
Yeah, and then Jaylen Warren pops it. And
Lofa wasn't where he was supposed to be.
Lofa was not. Lofa was out of position again. But Jaylen Warren took it down the sidelines for 40 yards. I mean, it was a beautiful thing, and he has some breakaway speed.
I was going to say, he's a pretty thick guy there. You get a good appreciation for that. But he's got some quicks.
But thick lower body, and he keeps a very low center of gravity and keeps a lot of his base in place. And you can see that in a lot of the blitz pickup drills. That's one of the things where he has really shined. You talk about being a good running back as far as running the ball when it's in your hands, but what he does in the passing game to come across the formation on scans and pick up those blitzing linebackers, and he's willing to meet them in the hole and be a willing battering ram, it's one of those things that's really refreshing, and he doesn't lose his feet. That's the other thing. When he does make that contact, he stays on his feet and he stays attached to those guys, and it's not kind of like a one-hitter quitter, right, where it's just a haymaker and you don't know what's going to happen. He is staying steady and has a good, solid base about him.
Not sure if we can get that same camera angle we just had, but I think we got to look at Mateo Durant, number 40 in white.
Yes.
Holding the bag. He is got a helmet on, or those shoulder pads?
That is, yeah. He's there.
He's missed a little time. That's a guy that got your attention early in camp, among others, correct?
Yeah, Mateo Durant's another one. He's a different body type to Jaylen Warren, both of them young guys coming in here. But Mateo Durant is a taller, leaner back, so he excels in the pass game. He has some great route running for a running back. He's a little bit more slender. I think he's about 10 to 15 pounds lighter than Jaylen Warren. So he has a little bit of the short area quicks. He can get thin in a lot of situations, kind of split through some of the smaller holes that are provided to him in the run game. I do like it. Runs a little bit high for my liking. I like him to be a little bit lower to the ground, but he has some breakaway speed and some good vision.
So the Steelers reported here, and one of the themes was, can they find a second running back to take a little bit of the load off of Najee Harris. Najee Harris, even when he checked in, said, yeah, I would not be opposed to that. Last year he always said, hey, I'll take every carry I can get. I'm built for this. This year he said he noticed in his film study that there were plays that he was out there when he was tired and he was not as effective as when he was not tired. So everybody's on board. They want that guy.
Yeah. Well,
do they have that guy from what you've seen and we just don't know who he is yet, or is that still to be determined?
I think the guy is on this roster right now. I'll put it that way. And I think you got a lot of different varieties. I mean, as we look at this running back group, a lot of different body types. You got Master Teague there, a bigger, thicker running back. You have Mateo Durant, taller, a little bit slimmer. Anthony McFarland, a little bit shorter, but absolute crazy explosion and agility. And then Jalen Warren is another one.
I still keep thinking for some reason that guy's a fit here, McFarland.
too.
Particularly in the Matt Canada offense.
I think he fits very well in this. I think he's going to get showcased on Saturday night. We're going to get to see what Anthony McFarland can truly bring to this team with a year under his belt. And I think Jalen Warren, I think those are my top two. I think they provide enough difference but yet similar to run what Najee is good at and do it in a different way that adds the extra dimension. It's different than bringing in and having a true running back by committee where it's like thunder and lightning, right? We have to have one package for one, another package for the other. I think all of these running backs can run a similar package. They just add their own little inflection to it, little extra comma here and there to make it a little bit different, even in the same thing. So I think that's an added benefit that we didn't have a year ago.
And, of course, once they identify that guy, they got to play him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's – and I get it. Eddie Faulkner, the running backs coach, has talked about this where if Najee Harris is healthy and standing next to you on the sideline, if you're the running backs coach, you start thinking, why is this guy not in the game?
Yeah, exactly.
But for any, complement / supplemental back to be effective, he's got to get some carries. He's got to get a chance to heat up a little bit, does he not?
Well, he has to get into the rotation to get a feel for the game. Yeah. And that's every week. I think that's the biggest thing is you're like, man, Najee. But when those backs get in on that one or two times, you got to earn the confidence and trust of the coach. And I think that's what is going to be interesting for this offseason. Najee's established. We're not trying to get him up to speed. He's already up to speed. And now the rest of them have an opportunity. Benny Snell knows what it is a year later. Anthony McFarland has been around here. The younger guys as well have to be ready for when the opportunity comes and presents itself. And I think this group is well attained to it. And, Coach Faulkner's coming in. He knows he needs to get Najee some breaks because he knows that later in the game, like a Derrick Henry, he can start to get even better in the fourth quarter. If he gets a couple of blows here and there, 5 or 6 reps off in the run game, maybe a couple of pass blocking opportunities. If he can take off about 10 plays and those backup guys can come in and play, that's going to be an added benefit for later in the year when we get to weeks 16 and 17 of the season and Najee's still strong.
Definitely something to keep an eye on Saturday night. There is going to be a lot of interest playing out at Acrisure Stadium on Saturday, so we will continue looking forward to that. And in the meantime, one more padded practice today. There you see the coverage protocols. Kickoff for the pregame begins at 6:30, and then 7 o'clock, your actual kickoff. Tune in. It's going to be revealing, Max.
Well, and I will be on both of those programs surrounding the game, so I'll be on the BetMGM Steelers kickoff pregame show. I believe we can announce this. It was released yesterday. Amanda Balionis-Renner will be on the show with me. We'll be co-hosting it. And then we'll also be doing the Steelers Extra Point immediately following for the preseason. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. We're going to be at Acrisure Stadium, the former Heinz Field, but it's Acrisure Stadium, and looking forward to a great opportunity. I think this is going to be a really good game, and it's a great competition, I feel, especially for the defensive side of the ball, because Seattle's coming in, and they're wanting to establish a run. Their quarterback situation is less than stellar, and the options are few and far between, but they're starting 2 rookie tackles as well. So this will be a good challenge for our defense to go in there and really establish the line of scrimmage against this team that wants to run the ball, that's going to be forcing to run the ball, to answer an early question about having the worst rush defense last year. And then for the offense, their interior defensive line is pretty darn good. So our interior offensive line is going to be up to a challenge. So I think this is really going to be a good trench game for both sides of the ball and present different challenges and really work to getting us at a place where both those lines can be positions of strength this coming football season.
That's going to do it for us. Craig Wolfley will be joining me for the wrap-up show. Until then, thanks to Max and thanks to you for finding us. You have been watching Training Camp Live, brought to you by FedEx.